I'm Crystal Escobar. This is episode number 52, Open Marriage with Sean Escobar.
Welcome to the Wannabe Balanced Podcast. Self-made millionaires, Sean and Crystal Escobar, will help you discover your passion and offer valuable insight into how you can make your dreams come true. And now,
it was funny
host,
because we were trying to think of the topic
YouTuber,
for this particular episode, and we couldn't pin it down. We couldn't pin down a title, and really this episode's about having openness in marriage. But we could, for the life of us, we couldn't figure out what to title it because we're going to share some things that have been really earth-shattering and just kind of revolutionary for us in our marriage. But, God, we couldn't figure out what to call it. And I said, well, let's call it Open Marriage. And I wasn't even really thinking, that.
About, yeah.
I guess there's a definition of open marriage, but that's definitely not what we're talking about. We probably should have titled it Openness.
I know, but I kind of liked the shock value. Like, what? I knew it. I knew that this is what was going to happen if they left the church.
Okay. Yeah, so not that. Sorry to disappoint. So, first of all, I wanted to start out by saying, in our experience, Crystal and I met each other, and, we there was chemistry there, and we quickly discovered that, we were both attracted to each other, and we both discovered that, that connection and that chemistry, it's really, the spark, it's really exciting and fun. And all of that early on to me is just magical. It's just so magical. Then, in a short amount of time from dating, through dating, you start to realize that there's a lot of things about yourself that you are very, very guarded about, and you're very apprehensive to share, and you're scared. You're scared. But I just wanted to start out this episode by saying that life is really rough, and it's rough on all of us. Those of you that are listening, I want you to know that I have had some things happen to me in my life that are just rough. And Crystal's had some things that have happened to her in her life that are rough. And it's not things that we anticipated. It's not things that we would really ask for. Maybe it was things that were done to us, or maybe it's things that we fell into, or mistakes that we made, or guilt and shame that we harbor, and it's just so unfortunate. But bottom line is, life beats us up. And life experience beat us up, and sometimes people beat you up. I'm going to share something a little bit later in the episode, something that happened to me that had a tremendous lifelong effect on me, something that I literally am still trying to overcome. But bottom line is, we get the crap kicked out of us in life. We end up with all these scars, but what you don't want to end up with is lots of secrets. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots of secrets. It
causes the shame. And I think for me, in the beginning when we first met and we got engaged, and I felt this urge, I have some secrets. I feel like I need to be open about these secrets and share these things before we get married, just to make sure that, that Sean really does want to marry me. And so I felt a lot of anxiety around oh my gosh, I got to tell him something, and got to get off my chest. I want him to know everything about me and know what he's getting into. And so I shared a couple things, and
let me just say that you were brave. You were really, really brave and vulnerable, and I love that about you. You're just such an amazing person that way. I really love that about you. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows, what you shared was really brave of you. And in hindsight, I'm wow, that was so brave. You can go ahead and share how I responded.
And you'll explain the reasons why you responded that way. So I opened up about some things, and Sean, he did his best to, be oh, it's okay, but I could tell that it was kind of shocking for him. And he, he tried to be loving, and he's just oh, it's fine. But over the next few years, it kind of, I think it would come up here and there, and, made me, I don't know how to say it without it sounding like you.
No, I was an ass. Just say it.
You made me feel really
I
shameful
was just
about.
judgmental and self-righteous and intolerant and hypocritical. So, yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
So I think that happens. Oftentimes we test the waters. We're like, okay, there's these secrets, and nobody likes holding secrets. You know, there is power in being vulnerable and sharing those things that you feel are causing you to feel shameful, because by keeping them secret, that's what makes the shame grow. So I know from past experiences, by sharing different secrets, you know, I know what it feels like to share those secrets. You know, I did with my best friends growing up. I shared some deep, dark secrets, and you have this feeling of liberation, like, oh, what a relief. Like, they still want to be my friend, you know? So I knew the power of it, but I think we're still afraid to open up completely. And so when I shared those things and I got that kind of response from Sean, it's like a way of testing the waters. You want to make sure that you feel safe and that you can share those things. But I think it's not easy to just lay it all out there. Like, if I would have told you everything before we got married, like everything, all that I've told you now,
I'd have moved on.
yeah, you've been like, whoa, this is too much.
It goes the other
Yeah,
way too.
yeah,
Same
exactly.
thing. If I had dumped it all on you right out the gate,
We've been like, there would be
this
a lot
person's crazy.
of fears around, like, well, what is this going to mean for our marriage? And, you know,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, so I think we test the waters, and when we don't really feel safe, then we kind of close off, and that's the end of it. We're like, okay, I guess I can't really share any more than that.
Yeah.
And then you just can try to keep bearing those other things. And so, yeah, that was kind of the majority of our marriage. I think both of us felt, you know, and I did that to you in different ways throughout our marriage, with having these certain expectations, making it very clear that you have to be this certain way, that's the most important thing to me in our marriage. And so then that put all this pressure on you too, to like, oh my gosh, like, I can't, you know, it just kind of, you close off. And I feel like our marriage in a nutshell has really been a lot of holding things down and keeping, holding things in. And I do think it has a lot to do with our religious background and different beliefs around certain things.
Yeah, without going into like specifics, like Crystal would say things to me like, hey, you know, if you ever did this, that would be like, that would be like the, you know, critically important to me. And if you ever did that, then, you know, I just don't know that I could tolerate that. And so me having had already done some of those things, you know, it just made me feel like, it made me feel really guilty. I mean, I already felt guilty, but it made me feel really shameful, and it made me feel like, this is not a safe space, and I just have to keep hiding that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I made you feel.
Yeah, we did it to each other, so.
Yeah, and so Crystal, there was this one point where Crystal, we were just in an intimate setting, and we were conversing, and all of a sudden, Crystal said, I want to tell you something. And you know, it sounded like it was important. It sounded like, you know, she kind of made it clear that this is something that, you know, she never told me before. And she told me. And I remember thinking, I just looked at her and I was like, I didn't have judgment. Like, and I was surprised I didn't, because as a Mormon, I would have had judgment. Mm-hmm. And I didn't. And it felt really different. Something felt different. And I looked at her and I was like, that's okay. And I understand. You know, we all have our stuff, and we all have our histories, and we all have things that, you know, this life is about living and experimenting and trying to see, you know, does this work? Does that work? And so on. And then she shared something else. And then I thought, I just looked at her like, God, you're a beautiful person. Like, you're so brave. And I just remember having this feeling like I'd never felt that way about my wife. And I looked at her and I says, listen to me. God, it's going to make me cry, Crystal.
Me too. Because I remember how I was shaking.
Yeah.
I was so afraid.
She's so brave. And I just looked at her. And you know, like a couple of the things she shared to me were not things that she even did. It's just things that were done to her. And I just remember looking at her and I just said, Crystal, listen to me. I says, I have never felt this amount of love for anybody. Oh, it's going to make me cry. Oh, I can't even say it. I've never felt this amount of love for anyone in my life. And I sincerely mean it when I say that you could tell me anything and I would not hold it against you, and I would instantly forgive you if I had to forgive you, if it was even mine to forgive. But I wouldn't judge you, and I wouldn't hold it against you, and I wouldn't carry it over you. And so she told me, and then I says, Crystal, and I could tell it was hurting her to tell me, it was hurting her. And I said, Crystal, listen to me. I promise, if it was 10 times worse than that, if it was 100 times worse than that, I promise you, I would instantly, I wouldn't pass any judgment. I wouldn't harbor any kind of resentment. The love I have for you is just, it's just so immense at this point in my life. I never could have imagined I could love anybody like this.
I'm hoping what I said could make you change your mind, though it doesn't really matter when my hands are tied. I'm trying to walk across the bridges that